Okay, we need to address some of the elephants in the zoo. This is gonna be kind of a PSA/State of the Game Dev Union covering my recent devlogs and hopefully clear up some of the gaps and messed up timelines between 2023 and today when I'm recording this in 2024. But it's not gonna be 2024, it's gonna be 2025 when you release this, you stupid bastard! Firstly, I want to express how amazed and surprised I am about the response my Horse Game 2 post-mortem video got. I'm so thrilled that it took off the way that it did. I really did not expect it to get any kind of traction or that people would be excited about this game. I can't begin to express how grateful I am for this, so thank you so much. I worked on Horse Game 2 from about 2020 through 2022. I worked on it while streaming development on Twitch for a long time, and after I moved in 2023, I kind of just put the project down because I was getting bogged down by a lot of bugs and limitations in my design, structure, the engine itself, and my own life. Near the beginning of 2023, I started to work on a project that was just called Robot Game for a while, but is now titled Stasis Complex. This game was originally a project that my development friend group, the COOLCATS, started in late 2022, but never got far with. I had ideas and revived it in a new form using Godot instead of Unity. I got really sucked into this project too and worked on it for most of the year. Around September of 2023 was when I made these first two devlogs. My plan was to keep working on the games, document my progress, and produce devlogs, but I just didn't have the schedule, the energy, or the focus to actually pull that off. Plus, I had some other projects that came along too that I want to talk about. So in November of 2023, Donkey's production company Big Mode had its first ever game jam, and me and my buddy decided to enter as the COOLCATS. We had this awesome idea of a party-style game in the vein of Towerfall or Duck Game, where the game mode you were playing would constantly be changing. The game was called Super Mix-Up. We had about 2.5 weeks to work on this game, and I think we managed to cram a lot of really cool and slick ideas in here. We learned some new techniques and really honed our craft, refining our approach as well as our teamwork. One specific feature that I put a lot of focus on was using a lookup table to change the texture of an animated sprite. Basically, you create a normal map version of the sprite where the red and green values of the pixels are values that correspond to pixels on a texture, and use a shader to replace the pixels with that of the skin. This way, once I had animated the one sheet, I could make a bunch of alternate skins for the player to unlock and add variety to the NPCs. I learned about this from Artificial's devlog. We also got a really simple but effective platforming character controller and NPCs with pathfinding and goal decision making. In arcade mode, you're dropped into a random level against 3 NPCs, and the game will throw down new game modes every few seconds. The match lasts for about a minute, and as the time increases, the game will start queuing up more modes simultaneously, making it get more and more chaotic. If you win, you unlock all the game modes you encountered for custom games as well as the level you played on and any of the skins the NPCs spawned with. We also did this cool thing where the main menu itself is a level and tutorial that teaches you the basic controls in order to start the game. We have custom games so you can set up your own little matches and play with different number of NPCs. There's no upper limit to this, so go nuts. We wanted to make this a multiplayer game, and that's obviously what the design is really suited for, but single player was one of the rules of the game jam. Maybe someday we'll come back to this and do multiplayer, or maybe networking too, who knows. If you want to play it, you can find it for free on our itch.io page. Despite how well the development was going throughout the time of the jam, we had a catastrophic failure with Super Mix-Up on the final day. A bug in some code prevented it from being able to access the PNG files of sprites for the alternate skins once they'd been unlocked. This caused the game to crash or sometimes load in a white square where an entity should be. It was a pretty tough pill to swallow to work so hard for weeks and feel like you had something really solid to put out, only to fail right as you're about to cross the finish line. Failure. But hey, life goes on, you know? So following this game jam, I decided to take a little break from game dev for about a month or so to let my mind recuperate. But when I got back to it, it was full steam ahead on Stasis Complex, and ooh, this was actually looking pretty rough now compared to how polished, crisp, and tightly controlled Super Mix-Up was. So it was time to really crack down on refining the movement, the combat, and cleaning up the sloppy pixel art. For just about the entirety of 2023 and 2024, I worked on pretty much nothing but bug fixes, refining controls, revamping combat mechanics, rebuilding the way NPCs are structured, and redrawing assets by hand. It's been a long and arduous task, but I think it's paying off. The game looks and feels better than ever. But as April of 2024 came through, I decided to put this on hold for a little bit. So the COOLCATS is my team of game developer friends that I hang out with. Every once in a while, a game jam comes along and we decide to get together to work on a project and strut our stuff. We've competed in several of the GMTK jams, but after Big Mode, we decided that we should have a semi-regular internal jam where we can work as a whole group, in teams, or as solos on a theme, and take an opportunity to try to put together new ideas, new tech, and try our hand at different genres. April 2024 was the first ever internal COOLCATS Game Jam, and it was a lot of fun. Leading up to the start of the jam, we all pooled as many random and crazy ideas for themes we could think of. Nothing was off limits. Day of, we picked one at random and drew out of order. We had just 30 days to put this all together from scratch, and this is what we created. After brainstorming our ideas for a while, we narrowed the idea down to a classic, Rareware-inspired beat-em-up 3D platformer about a fast food ice cream machine that has gone rogue and is fighting back against the establishment. I'm very happy with how everything came together. I was able to hone in on so many concepts that I had struggled to put together in the past. We started out by creating this physics-based character controller that was based off this YouTube tutorial. This gave everything a very bouncy and lively feel. It was a great start, but trying to animate a cube beating up NPCs is pretty tough because you don't have a whole lot of character to work with. So we gave him these giant fists that come out of nowhere. Definitely some Rayman inspiration going on. It makes no sense, but that's okay, it doesn't need to. All that matters is that it feels damn good to beat the shit out of customers. My girlfriend and I were playing a lot of Katamari Reroll on the Switch around this time, and I love the style of their 3D assets. They make it look so effortless, and that's the kind of thing I like. It's low poly, low res, simplistic, cartoony, but also hilarious and charming. Good stuff. For this, I wanted to keep running with what I did for Super Mix-Up with having swappable skins for NPCs, so that was pretty easy to do since we're working in 3D. But we also have to manage materials and models. So I have a base model for a man and woman, and I have these different hair pieces that can be swapped out. It's seriously nothing fancy, very basic, simple stuff, but I've never done anything like this before, so I was just winging it, and I think I managed to pull it off okay despite it all. The reason this is great for jam games is once you get the system and pipeline down for adding these in, you can just make like 1 or 2 or 5 of these really fast to make your content population much more efficient, and helps to make jam games feel way more filled in. For debugging, I needed a way to test NPCs and their behavior fast, so I added the keyboard shortcut P to spawn them in when you're in the dining room. Every time you press P on the keyboard, it spawns an NPC, and the neat thing is there's no upper limit to this, and I'm happy with how well the game handles it, even when there's just a ludicrous amount of them on the screen. I don't know why, but I immediately thought of Grabbed by the Ghoulies when we started brainstorming this whole project. That game was cool because it's kind of almost vaguely Metroidvania-light in its exploration of the mansion. You go through different sections, backtrack to unlock areas that were previously blocked off. Yeah, I dig it. That's my kind of thing. I also like the element of that kind of level structure where it's room-to-room exploration, and in each room they do a beat-em-up challenge that is kind of randomized. Once you complete the challenge, you're free to explore. Some doors are locked and need keys to get through, and there's even a few secrets hidden around the map. This is probably the most polished, well-put-together, and actually fun game I've made so far. And it came together in just 30 days, which is wild. It's far from perfect, and maybe someday I'll pick it back up and add more stuff to it, but I'm extremely satisfied with this project as a whole. Once again, if you want to play it, you can download it for free on our itch.io page. Okay, so that was a lot of work between then and now. After we wrapped up the Game Jam for April, I continued working on Stasis Complex, and I started adjusting my schedule to keep up with my actual real job workload and all my projects. But now for the question on everyone's mind, what's going on with Horse Game 2? Well, it's started, finally, but as you saw through the time lapse of the last year, I really had not been working on it at all. But now that I finally forced myself to put out some content and get things rolling, and I've reorganized my life to give me ample time for consistent development, I think I can really actually do this. So that's right. It's time to finally start a new project.
You suck!
Kind of. Okay, so hear me out. After doing all these projects in the past, I've learned a lot about game development, and not only honed my skills and built up my experience, but I've also built a lot of good, useful tools. There's a lot of boilerplate stuff that you have to do to get any game up to a certain level of polish and basic functionality, and after doing those same things several times over, polishing and refining the approach with each iteration, I've decided to take all the best stuff from these past projects and extract them into reusable plugins and build a development template / engine-ish thing. This is the COOLCATS engine, also called Gato Box. This template will allow me to have a lot of UI, systems, prefabs, tools, features, workflow, and organizational stuff already done, complete, and reusable to expedite all of my projects going forward. So I want to get a version 0.1 of this up and running before jumping into Horse Game 2, which will be the first game powered by the Gato Box. And I gotta say, this was a great move. This is cleaner and functioning better than any of my UI in the past. It's already paying dividends as I finally start actual development of the Horse Game 2 rebuild. In just one day, I was able to get so much of the functionality of the original project complete and working better than ever. We've already got the character controllers, state machine, HUD, animations, room to area structures, save system, menus, UI, inventory, and item systems, spells, and more. I'm already loving this, and I can't wait to show you guys more. Thanks so much for watching and sticking around. As always, like the video and leave a comment telling me what you think, or if you have any suggestions, feedback, or ideas. Hit subscribe if you'd like to see more, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I think that's pretty much it. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.